This is Earth 2. The idea that we would create a digital twin of the Earth, that we would go and simulate the Earth so that we could predict the future of our planet to better avert disasters or better understand the impact of climate change so that we can adapt better, so that we could change our habits now. This digital twin of Earth is probably one of the most ambitious projects that the world's ever undertaken, and we're taking large steps every single year, and I'll show you results every single year, but this year we made some great breakthroughs. Let's take a look.
So you guys may have noticed I snuck a peek back at the shelf a moment ago. I wasn't paying attention, but let's see if Gemini was. Hey, did you happen to catch the title of the white book that was on the shelf behind me?
The white book is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That is absolutely right. Let's try something harder. I keep losing my hotel key card. Do you know where I last left the card?
The hotel key card is to the right of the music record.
Great.
I think that you'll lower the cost of transactions globally, and you'll help the unbanked, Andrew, with the advent and the proliferation of stablecoins. I also think it helps dollar supremacy, because if you look at these stablecoin companies, whether it's Circle or Tether, or you pick other stablecoin companies that are growing, in their reserves, they own a lot of U.S. dollar-denominated assets, specifically U.S. Treasury. I think Tether, I think it was reported that they own more treasuries than Germany or Japan in terms of the inventory of treasuries on their balance sheet. So to me, the legislation is going to allow us to increase that. I think that's better for the dollar, but I also think at some point you'll come to the Hunt and Fish Club, you'll pay with a stable coin, and you'll avoid the 3.5% credit card fee. And I think that's sorely overdue. I mean, there's approximately $7 trillion of money that's spent globally on verification of transactions, which includes credit card fees, wiring fees, all these different things that we're using. And if you can cut that down using stablecoins, using the blockchain, I think we should be doing that. And I will applaud the administration for wanting to advance that. The last administration, they were making specious arguments about why we shouldn't advance that. And so I do give the administration credit for wanting to make this technology stick here in the United States to enable the United States to maintain its mantle of financial services leadership. That there's been some drunk driving by the central banking community more broadly, and again, over 50 years. And so what Pop is trying to say to you guys is that if Bitcoin explodes and becomes an asset as a store of value or potential global currency, if you will, it sort of takes the drunk driving, takes the keys away from the central bankers. And so this spending bill, which is massive, and it doesn't stop the freight train of U.S. spending and the growth of the deficit relative to U.S. GDP. So in the background of everything I said earlier about crypto and the regulation, the spending bill also makes people concerned to say, geez, I may want to own assets away from the U.S. dollar. This is a good competitive asset now. This conversation with Joe, there were some things he was doing in the tariffs I didn't like. He paused the tariffs. I came on the air and praised that. I'm not just going to be anti-Trump. He's done a lot of good things on the crypto piece. He's done some good things for the banks. He set up a course for some deregulation that I think is positive for growth. But alongside of that, unfortunately, you're picking up some of the meme activity, or you're picking up the notion that the president's actually going to be out there measuring people's wallets in his own meme coin to provide him access. And so, listen, it's probably inside the spirit of the law, Andrew, and the letter of the law, if you will, but it doesn't feel right to a lot of people.
It would bring yields down. You've said you're going to take more of an active role, as I understand it, with respect to some of that banking regulation. Where are we with that?
I think we are very close to moving the supplementary leverage ratio, SLR. That is moving along very quickly. between the three banking regulators, the Fed, the OCC, and the FDIC. So I would think we could see something on that over the summer.
Over the summer, and knowing the markets as you do, would you anticipate that might have a significant material effect on Treasury yields?
Well, I think it could, because banks are being penalized for holding treasuries. You know, there's a large supplementary leverage charge. So I think for holding the risk-free asset, we can reduce that. And I've seen estimates that it could bring yields down by tens of basis points. Certainly during the COVID crisis, it was temporarily taken off, and it had a big effect.
Even if SPX might have tried to jump back to levels pre-Trump, but the dollar has not regained any of its strength. In fact, I think investors now have a very strong reason to hedge their long US asset exposure, and the dollar is no longer behaving like a safe haven, unfortunately. I would say it's actually following much more of an emerging market playbook, which is, I think, the unfortunate truth that we need to come to terms with.
This idea that the selling of U.S. assets has been a big problem here. Why wouldn't the same be true for stocks if you believe the dollar is going to fall?
Well, it's why it's falling, to your point. So if our call on 175 basis points of rate cuts next year proves to be true, you'll get a 10% decline. If it's only 100 basis points of cuts, it'll be less. But the direction of travel is south for the dollar, particularly against the yen, which they're not going to be cutting rates anytime soon, or against some of even the European currencies, or the currency, but also the pound, because they don't have as much room to cut in a slowdown.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have NVIDIA creates Earth 2 using AI and these supercomputers to run simulations to see the future. And we know they've been running simulations, especially with these big storms. There's always an agenda. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. But this technology, they definitely can see the future. I know it sounds like a movie, but remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. Now we have Google AI glasses. And all these AI devices will be recording everything around you 24/7. Especially these AI agents. They're going to be your digital twins. There is nothing you're going to be able to do without someone not knowing. And that's going to put an end to most crime. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have robots boxing. Now, where did we see that at first? That's right, the TV. Remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. I think Real Steel came out in 2011. That's like 14 years ago. And the robots that we see today is nothing like the robots they have in the back, especially DARPA and China. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Scaramucci on stablecoins, say they're going to lower costs and keep the United States dollar powerful. And the Fed gets to keep control because these stablecoin issuers must have U.S. treasuries. And the Fed is definitely not going to give up the money supply. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we have Scott Bessent adjusting the SLR to lower yield rates, and that basically will allow banks to hold more treasuries, which we know if they're holding that long in, it's going to cause a banking collapse. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have the U.S. dollar will slowly lose the value because we know Japan and other countries have to move away from this long-term paper. Nobody wants it except our banks. But remember, this is a plan. It moves in phases. Trump has to devalue this dollar in order to get this debt down, to get us to a level playing field for this new digital economy. Remember, the digital economy, everything is real time, freeing up trillions of dollars of liquidity. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have the World Economic Forum going over slavery. It's more slavery now than it was back in the day. And we know that is 100% fact. If you can't afford to feed your family, you're working constantly and still can't make the ends meet. We're not even talking about the other stuff, which we know is slavery. We're just talking about hardworking people that work all day trying to feed their family and still can't make things happen. And when you look at the United States, you're talking about the richest country in the world. We have homeless, the vets that we can easily take care of. But now, of course, guys, what do they say? AI. With this technology, they'll be able to take care of it. But we know they'll also be able to control humanity. And that's the only thing about this technology. Remember, technology can be used for good or evil. But this technology is in evil hands. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you. Because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
There's slavery in the world? I thought that ended in the 1800s, or I thought that ended in the early 1900s, and the reality is there's a significant amount of slavery, and depending on what figures you look at, there are more slaves in the world today than any other point in time in history. A number of definitions of modern slavery. The ILO contains a definition, the UN, etc. But I think for most people would recognize most forms. It could be sex trafficking. It could be child labor, whether that's in a mine or in a garment factory or the like. But there are other forms of modern slavery that are just as insidious and just as pervasive. Migrant workers who've had to pay exorbitant fees for a job in a foreign country, such that when they get there, they end up spending essentially a long period of time working in what is equivalent of indentured servitude to work off that debt. Or they have their travel documents taken so that they can't return home. So there are lots of different forms of modern slavery. I think what's important for people to know is that many of these are hidden in plain sight. It could be someone who's working in a nail salon in your town, who's doing your nails, but is there because they've paid an exorbitant fee, or they do not feel free to leave and they're under sort of the indentured servitude of the owner of that nail salon. Or it could be someone who is in your care facility for an elderly relative who has been trafficked in from somewhere in Africa and is living in a house with 20 other people, being forced to work 12, 14 hours a day. We have a crazy case in the UK recently in which a number of people working at McDonald's for a number of years had been trafficked in by a European gang, and McDonald's was paying all of their wages to a single bank account controlled by that gang. So the person who was making your fries and serving you your hamburger was actually someone in modern slavery. That's how much this sort of is hidden right in plain sight. And it's a problem that continues to grow, notwithstanding the UN statement that we should eradicate slavery by 2030.
And how are we doing on that? How are we progressing?
Not very well. The beauty of AI is it has the power to do analytics on a large amount of data to draw insights that we can then action. So in the past, the idea of everyone reading this it would be too big to synthesize. But with AI today, we have the ability to evaluate large amounts of data and draw insight out of them that we can then action. So if we can expand this data pool, we can drive greater insights.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, So therefore, we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the fourth industrial revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.